Everyone walked past him, like he didn't exist. But what one officer did next, no one saw coming. His name was Daniel Hayes. Once, he wore a uniform. Once, people saluted him. Now? He sat on a cracked sidewalk, wrapped in a torn army jacket, his hands trembling from the cold. A small cardboard sign rested beside him. Veteran, hungry, anything helps. People saw it. They just chose not to care. A businessman walked by, eyes glued to his phone. A young couple laughed, stepping around him like he was trash. A woman pulled her child closer, whispering, "Don't look." Daniel didn't beg, didn't call out. He just watched, as the world erased him, one step at a time. But Daniel wasn't always invisible. There was a time, he ran through smoke-filled streets, carrying a wounded soldier on his back. A time, he chose danger, so others could go home. Now, he couldn't even get someone to look him in the eye. A man in a suit finally stopped. Daniel looked up, hope flickering in his tired eyes. The man dropped something into his cup. But when Daniel looked down, it wasn't money. It was a crumpled receipt. The man smirked and walked away. Pause. Daniel slowly nodded, like he expected nothing more. His stomach growled. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. His hands shook as he tried to stand, but his legs gave out. He sank back down. Eyes closing. For a moment, it looked like he might not get back up again. And still, no one stopped. Then, a patrol car pulled up. People glanced, expecting the usual. "Move along. Can't sit here." Just another removal. The door opened. A police officer stepped out. Calm, observant. He didn't rush, didn't shout. He just stood there for a moment, watching Daniel. Studying him. Then something unexpected happened. The officer took off his gloves. And slowly walked toward him. But what he did next would leave everyone around completely speechless. The officer stopped just a few feet in front of Daniel. People slowed down, watching from a distance. Waiting for the usual command. But instead, "Hey, can you hear me?" Daniel's eyes barely opened. He tried to focus, but everything was blurry. Then, the officer did something no one expected. He slowly took off his own jacket. And placed it around Daniel's shoulders. Pause. People stopped walking. A woman across the street whispered, "Wait, what is he doing?" The officer crouched down, bringing himself to Daniel's level. Not above him. Not over him. With him. "Don't remember?" The officer nodded slowly. No judgment. No pity. Just understanding. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his wallet. But then paused. Looked at Daniel again. And made a different decision. Instead of handing him cash, the officer stood up and walked away. People exchanged looks. Of course, someone muttered, "Same as always." Daniel's eyes closed again, as if he expected nothing more. But the officer wasn't leaving. Not even close. Less than 5 minutes later, he came back. But this time, his hands were full. A bag of hot food, a bottle of water, and something else. Something people didn't notice at first. He knelt again. Opened the food carefully. Like it mattered. "Easy, take your time." Daniel's hands shook, but the officer steadied them. Not rushed. Not awkward. Just human. For the first time that day, Daniel wasn't invisible. People weren't just watching anymore. They were confused. Some, even uncomfortable. Because this wasn't normal. As Daniel ate, something slipped from inside his worn jacket. The officer noticed. Reached down, and picked it up. It was an old, folded photograph. He opened it. And froze. His expression changed instantly. Because the man sitting in front of him wasn't just a homeless veteran. He was something more. Something the officer recognized. Pause. And what he realized next would change everything. The officer stared at the photograph, his hand slightly trembling. It showed a younger man in uniform, standing proudly beside a small team. But that wasn't what shocked him. It was the face. He looked back at Daniel, then down at the photo again. No way. He moved closer. Sergeant Hayes? Pause. Daniel's eyes flickered open. For the first time, there was recognition in them. The officer swallowed hard. You saved my life." People nearby leaned in, confused. The officer sat down fully beside Daniel, no hesitation now. 8 years ago, overseas? I was the one trapped in that burning vehicle. Daniel blinked slowly. Trying to remember. You pulled me out, when no one else could reach me. Pause. I never got to thank you. Daniel's lips trembled. After that, things changed. He looked away. Ashamed. I came home, but the war didn't leave me. Lost my family, lost everything, couldn't keep a job. Pause. Guess I got lost too. The officer shook his head immediately. No, you were never lost. The officer stood up suddenly. Pulled out his radio. I need medical support and transport now. Priority. People stared. But he didn't stop there. He took off his badge. Just for a second, holding it in his hand. Then looked down at Daniel. You carried me out of hell? Now it's my turn. He turned to the crowd. He's not a beggar. He's a hero. Silence fell over the street. The same people who walked past him now couldn't look away. As help arrived, the officer stayed right there beside him. Not as authority, but as someone who remembered. Someone who cared. Daniel was lifted gently, wrapped in warmth, treated with dignity. And for the first time in a long time, he wasn't invisible anymore. Sometimes, the people we walk past are the same ones who once carried others through the darkest moments of their lives.